my friends, she took her life. Well, she was diagnosed with.
People that probably were thinking about suicidal ideation, was there anybody who ever said to you, I'm so glad that your organization exists, because if it didn't, then I don't know what would happen?
And that's again that stigma, and that's one thing we're trying to reduce. We're trying to reduce the stigma, and just make it make sure open communication is the norm. We should be helping one another. You know what I mean?
You're listening to Rafa Said It Here, a podcast about spirituality, mental and emotional health, and the real stories of everyday people finding their way back to themselves. I am Raphaella Silva. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rafa Said It Here. My name is Raphaella Silva, and welcome to another episode of my podcast. I'm very excited because I'm bringing to you guys today a very, very special guest. Um, His name is Josh. Josh is the founder and director of Help Me Find Me, which is a nonprofit organization based in Luton, England. He has is dedicating his life to the raising awareness and reducing stigma and providing peer-to-peer support for individuals with lived experiences of borderline personality disorder, BPD. He's passionate about creating safe spaces where people can share, learn, and feel truly understood. Josh, welcome. I am very excited that you're here. I've been anticipating this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes to this conversation. And I will start really quickly by just kind of giving setting the stage for the listeners. And I think if they're following me on the podcast platforms, they will know that I had the conversation about being someone who deals with borderline personality disorder personally. Um, and it's very rare to hear someone talk about borderline personality disorder if you're not a psychiatrist, if you're not a therapist, like it's hard to find peer support. And what you're doing is peer support to those that have been so stigmatized simply because people don't understand what this is, right? So I want to start before we talk about your organization. I want to ask you what prompted you to start this nonprofit organization.
So this all started from well, got, got registered from 2024 in July. I got registered, but then what what prompted me to do this was I think it would have been 2023. It was September. Like one of my friends, she took her life. Well, she was diagnosed with with BPD. So that kind of that well not kind of that was what um prompted me to do this. Because again I didn't have any understanding of the diagnosis. And I can only imagine how many other people like myself don't know of the diagnosis and have an understanding of it. Um, so it kind of from obviously I knew beforehand before Annabelle she did decide to leave this world that I knew that she was diagnosed with it, but I didn't have an understanding of it. Again, it's like again if I did my due diligence, at least I have a bit of understanding. Again, I would have probably some things I probably would have took a bit more what do you call it? Yeah, probably would have took it a bit more head on. But then yeah, not knowing certain things I'm trying to learn now. It's like okay, I could have I could have spot kind of telltale signs. From just understanding of BBD. But yeah, it was that pretty much prompted me to create an organization to support those that of lived experience.
First of all, sorry for your loss. I know that type of loss, it's one of those that is very, very hard. Because I've known people that have actually gone and done that. And so I know it's very, very tough. So I want to just say first of all, very, very sorry for your loss. Um, how close you were to your friend.
Well, blood would have made us closer, you know. Like that's where the best. She's like a sister to me, you know what I mean? So like, blood would have made us closer, you know. So it's yeah, it's still a bit quite hard to even like, you know what I mean? To be able to see it still cage. I mean, I guess at the same time, I'm not really I say yeah. I'm not really. I guess in the same sort of way, I'm still kind of processing it, you know. And kind of, you know, because it's what's your friend, isn't it? You know what I mean? It just really can't process it. I guess if it was family again, still processing it, but I guess everyone processes it in a different way. People grieve in a different way. Um, so it may be one thing me saying it, but it's still things like, yeah, you know, it's nah, it's like nah, I'm gonna check her eventually, you know what I mean? But yeah, yeah, it's still kind of just like it's one thing saying it, but it's like you gotta still process, still gotta process a lot. Yeah, still gotta process it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess whilst doing this work, um, to put it away with me, I guess slowly grieving, you know what I mean? In a way, like you know what I mean? Just, yeah, kind of process, try and process, you know. So but yeah, no, but she was like, she was family. You know what I mean?
So a lot of times, and I will speak from my own experience, when I was diagnosed, I remember I was both relieved because I understood what was going on with me, right? But at the same time, the moment that I went to look up like on social media, because at first I was relieved and I wanted to see what was going on out there in regards to the conversation. And just to give people also clarity, I'm a behavioral health science student. So my discovery was through, I had a moment, I was having a moment that I didn't know what it was, and it was a little bit scary. And that's when I knew to look up borderline personality disorder, excuse me, because I was a behavioral health science student. So I was familiar with different types of diagnoses. So I started out, my diagnosis was a self-diagnosed first before having a conversation with a clinical psychologist and a psychologist who confirmed it for me. Um, but what happened after for me, and I just kind of want to hear your perspective, is the moment that I went to look up online what it was. Um, there was a lot of very horrible things that was said about borderline personality disorder. And at that moment that I saw that, and I said, I am never telling a soul about this because I was so afraid that I would get the same type of treatment that people were, doing to other people that has borderline personality disorder. So when your friend told you the first time, what was your immediate reaction?
Am I being like brutally honest?
Yes, I want honest.
I
This is yes.
I literally thought I literally said like what's that? I like you know what I mean like what you know, because when she told me she obviously she had a other diagnosis that along with it as well of different different diagnoses as well and then which other ones I knew what they were already like anxiety and depression already knew what they were but for BPD I said what's that then she obviously broke it down saying it's borderline personality disorder. From there I said okay. I didn't look at any different way. I heard something like I've heard something I've not heard before. I didn't query about it as much. You know what I mean? And I know I know you should query about things if you're even not too sure of anything. But at the time I didn't think anything of it. You know what I mean? I just thought, okay, well, she's back home. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what I mean, that was more the case, more the thing than anything. Like, yeah, I didn't read up on it or anything. Um, you know what I mean? There was uh no discussions. You know what I mean? Yeah, the thing is, she knew yeah, I know that she could talk to me about anything. You know what I mean? So whether she chose she didn't want to, you know what I mean? You know, it's down to her. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna um drag anything out of anyone that don't want to speak about anything. But literally, I didn't have any negative report, positive reports. Yeah, to me, it's just like, yeah, it was mutual. Because where she was coming back from, after that mattered to me. You know what I mean? So it's like I could like didn't really register in my head what who asked what was BBD. You know?
Mhm. And that's mostly a lot of the reactions that people have. Because eventually I did share with some people. The beginning I did not, but eventually people don't go look and see like what is this, right? Um, After she shared it with you, did you like when you begin to see a lot of her behaviors, did you see a difference? Like, oh, now I know why. Did your mind begin to did something shift in the way that you looked at her and some of her behavior?
I didn't look at her any different. Like I know it's probably sound hard to be, but it's like if she if we went to the shops, if we went to go and drive to Costco, for instance. And you know she'd be talkative on the way there. You know, talkative whilst we're in there, and then on the way back she'd just be like dead quiet. I wouldn't prod her to be like what's wrong, what's wrong. I mean, I'll just allow for me because I'm not. Cause I feel like you know if someone wants a space to just not talk, then you don't have to talk. You know what I mean? So to me, if that to me it wasn't a sign of like okay that's something to offer guys for. You know what? If you don't want to talk, you don't want to talk. You know what I mean? I'm not someone to be like, oh, what's going on? Or you know what I mean? Like, you know, cause eventually, from my experience, that you're gonna want to have a chat later on. You know what I mean? Or you mean, yeah, you're gonna want to have a chat later on, and that is on your time. I'm not gonna, yeah, I'm not gonna force anything out of you. But then obviously as obviously after everything that's happened, yeah, there's telltale signs like right, this she said this, then that, you know what I mean? So it's like um then I'm thinking like right, cool, like yeah, I kind of like well, obviously I guess connected the dots in a sense and connected the dots of like okay, so that was going on when that was going on and so and then it's like okay, like yeah, um could have probably been a bit more um probably could have been a better support at the time, you know what I mean? Um, but you know, yeah, but I guess whilst in the moment of things, yeah, I didn't take it as that's connected to this, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, but obviously doing the work I'm doing now, I can yeah, I can kind of see, okay, that symptom and whatnot, okay, that like this time when she was like this, and you know what I mean? So, yeah, so it's yeah, that's what it's like to be fair.
Mm. And it's interesting because, and just uh to give people clarity, I think especially when it comes to borderline personality disorder, because and I'm sure you know this, there's four different types of borderline personality disorder. There is the petulant, the risky one, the quiet one, which is the one that I have. And just to kind of give people an idea what it means is that some of the traits are more prominent than others. So out of the nine traits, like those nine traits are divided by four, basically. And there are people who have borderline personality disorder, BPD. Some of them will showcase more. specific traits than the other traits, even though might have all nine, and you need five actually to be diagnosed with it. But if a person has all nine traits, sometimes they will showcase maybe four out of the nine more, and because of that, they have created different types of labels, I guess you would say, to kind of talk about the different types of beauty. So in my case, my nine traits are towards myself. Like you're never going to know what's happening with me unless I actually tell you. So the anger, and I'll go over the nine traits in just a minute too, but the anger, the thoughts, the suicidal ideation. Now I have conversations because I had the awareness and I've talked about this. But before, when I didn't know, all the traits that I would have, all the things that I would deal with was actually towards myself. So we do a very great job of masking. You wouldn't know, like I could be sitting here doing this interview, but 10 minutes earlier, I might have been, you know what I mean? I might be doing this interview and still be having the actual traits happening in real time. And so I always say that what they consider the quiet BPD to me is the most concerning one, because we're not going to tell you. We're just not going to tell you what's actually happening. So I always find that if someone, and this is for anyone who's listening, if someone has shared with you that they have borderline personality disorder, become a probing, like begin to probe about what's going on in their world and their life, because they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you. So, but it's interesting that even subtly we can see, that something is off. And I think one of the biggest one is when they kind of withdraw to themselves, where they're not active. They lose a little bit of the interest in doing things. I always say, if you don't see me on social media, because I like to post every single day on my stories, I always say, if you don't see me on social media posting, inquire because something I'm not okay. So it's just there is a sign that I'm not okay. So I do give signs that I'm not okay. You know what I mean? Um, Looking in retrospect now, and you're now able to identify, um, okay, this was that, this could have been that. How do you use that? And then we can jump into the organization. How do you use that as a conversation when you have your events to talk about the organization?
Well, I just so when we do when we do outreach work, um, there's like a friend or a family member or someone that suspects that they may have the certain traits or have or have BPD. Um, we just say we're not medical professionals. So we say get um, they give you a better to give you aware of what's going on, right? It's you know what I mean. I can't list the things. I can't the things that experience or notice. If someone else says the same thing, I can't say, "Yep, that's what it is." Yeah, you know what? Da da da. It's not it don't work out, and it has to be a case of you need to go and see your GP. Um, get diagnosis done. Um, I always just encourage, just to, um, just to talk, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And even again, just, taking time to respect someone's space as well, because again, some people don't want to be, um, how do you call it? Sometimes being in someone's space, you can well them, overwhelm it, and that can, that could set someone off, you know? But again, it's just again, like saying you need to talk, just to have some sort of like conversation to know some sort of conversation, so at least in future, okay, the telltale sign, you know what I mean? Okay, they are being wait, they're withdrawing from coming out this weekend, and even the weekend, even coming out that weekend is not going to do with being like clubbing or whatever, but they're not coming around this weekend. Okay, right. Well, I'll have a chat on the phone with them. You know what I mean? And still check on them. That, you know what I mean. But I guess yeah, like each other's space and just having conversations is what I encourage a lot. You know what I mean?
Hmm. When you hold the events, how many people that show up are actually people that have BPD versus family members or friends that have BPD? Like what is
Oh, so right. So the events we hold, so like the family events, family well, same thing really. Family events, they that's different. Um, in a sense of like that's open to it to the public, to anyone that wants to come. The events we go out to do outreach work to, that's where we kind of again, how you call it, whoever's there at the present time,
Mhm.
come along, and sees our stall. You know, that's that can vary from day to day. You know what I mean? So for instance, there was a Comic Con event last year, September, and how did that go around? So there was one, two, three, three. I feel like there's four people who came across that was organized of lived experience. Um, there was two friends that have friends that of lived experience as well. And again, they took the information. They took the information with them to again to I guess to prompt it to their friends. Um, because I guess they were just I guess they want to help their friends as well. You know what I mean? And where we're based, there is there is services, but obviously nothing that's specifically for this for BBD. You know, um, being five, that's five people. Yeah, so yeah, I remember five people. I remember because the first. Because the people came up to us and they said there's people that were diagnosed of lived experience. Sorry, they said, oh, we didn't know there's a well well they say we I didn't know there was a service like this in Luton, you know. Again, those people that we came across, it's by chance, you know. It's by chance we're able to come across those people, and those people that are either friends or the actual individual themselves um would like the support, and they're all just by chance that we come across people at these events. So it can vary from time to time. It's never a concurrent number all the way through. I love it to be double figures all the way through, but you know what I mean. But it's literally a case of that different events will draw different people, and we we have to be fortunate that we're able to connect with anyone that wants to support or wants to help what we're doing and to pass on the service that we're providing to other people to other services, you know. Being like a signpost for people.
Got it. Was there anybody who's ever come and because of your existence, because of the existence of the organization, has anybody ever said to you, I am so glad that you guys exist because I was at my last brink or my last, um, people that probably were thinking about suicidal ideation. Was there anybody who ever said to you, I'm so glad that your organization exists because if it didn't, then I don't know what would happen to me? Was there ever any situation like that?
there wasn't that, but I'll tell you what it was. There was a case where there was a point where one woman that we met came to the meeting, the online meeting. So what's happened is that um again the meeting that we have, you don't have to show your face. Some people you don't have to show your face, you don't have to speak, you might just speak present, you know what I mean? Which is totally fine. It's open, it's your space and energy, you know what I mean? You just want to just be there and day. Um and she was quiet for the first like probably like 10 minutes. And then as time go along, she came off the mic speaking, and the conversation's gone flowing well and whatnot. Then the meeting ended, but then she's messaged to say that that she's returning to uni, and she felt better about returning back to uni. Um, you know, to have said that, I guess that in some way could be in the same line of if that wasn't there before she went to uni, who knows what her thought process might have been, or she would have felt as confident or supportive before going, you know. So I'm not having to say directly like what the word that you said, but the feedback of like yeah, I'm glad there's a support out there that I can do, or knowing that someone felt about going back into university. Um, and again, yeah, I guess that comes to my mind thinking if yeah, if we weren't there, what would have what would have been the case? Would she have missed another year? Would she still gone? But then just not had that confidence then, you know. But no, yeah, there's been positive comments. Um, you know, which I would say that I'm glad that I say glad. Um, yeah, I guess glad is really hard to say. I'm glad that that someone is getting the support that they need. You know, or they be running and they know they needed it.
Got it. And how does that make you feel to know that the work that you began, it's causing people to say, now I can go into the next step. Let's just say that, into my life. Like, how does that make you feel?
Um, it just makes me feel human. I'll be honest with you, like it just makes me feel human. You know what I mean? Because I know all said and done, like like where we should be helping one another. You know what I mean? Like it's it doesn't mean like I'm on top of the world or anything like that or what. It's made for like right now. That's what even should do. And I think with I think with my mom was in the same similar sort of way. You know what I mean, yeah, I think that mom's done back in obviously in work wise whatnot. Kind of rubbed up for me. You know what I mean? And I get, but obviously, I guess it's worked in a different sort of way. So it's like to see her do that, it's the norm. You know what I mean? So to be to help. You know what I mean? So
Well, let
like
me let me ask
to
you
be there and help.
let me ask you this then. How does it help your grief?
Okay. I help my grief. Go kind of double two ways. It can go like if I knew about it sooner, then could it have helped, or could have prevented something, and then I guess in the other hand, it's a case of um that it's preventing someone from going through that same situation, you know. So it's like to say yeah, you know what I mean. Say how it helped my grief. It's it's You know, when you're just in the motion of things, you don't really doing. You know what I mean? When you commission, you don't like, you process, you put process it, you have to, let's say, quote unquote, take your foot off the pedal, right? Um, I've probably not had that point. I probably ain't had that point to even think what it's doing to the grieving side of things. You know what I mean? Like, I've probably not had time to even think like. Oh, how am I? You know what I mean? I mean, like, how am I? I mean, to say how to agree with the other thing is it's it's quite a tough one. Because, I guess it just it's making me have a better understanding of things, you know. But to say grieving wise, yeah, it's quite a tough one. Tough question, Raphaella. That's a question. Yeah, um, yeah,
I always say you don't
yeah.
have to answer now, but because sometimes I think it's hard to talk about grief. I know it is. And, a lot of times when we lose people, and I've seen this with different organizations, especially mothers that create organizations for their children who have passed away, excuse me, and different things. I've noticed that a lot of people will talk about, how it helps them with their grief, because losing someone that way, even though we know what's going on, like even though we know what's actually happening, there's still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of questions that we would have loved to have answered. Maybe questions about ourselves, like you said, could I have done something if I had more of the awareness, right? And I want to share this with people that might be listening in terms, and especially for those that have lost someone. And this is coming from someone who thinks about it a lot because it's part of the trait, right? I always say that even when you do have awareness of what's happening with someone, the only thing that it's possible to do for that person is one more day. One more day. Each day, if you're able to help, it's just one more day, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're feeling inside, like what's actually going on inside of our bodies, it's unbearable. Like not just unbearable mentally, but it's unbearable physically. So the way that I like to describe, like whenever there is that particular trait that shows up, what I like to describe it as, so that people can have an idea of what's actually going on in our bodies. So think of it if you had a cord and someone is plugging you somewhere and you get shocked, like that electrical shock, the pain of electrical shock. I've never been shocked like that before, but that's the only way that I can describe it because what happens is the body, it's literally in pain, but the mind has actually checked out. So it becomes literally blank. There's a blank that goes on. So it's not like we're sitting here processing things. Because we were processing things, we just blanked out, right? So so even if you helped me yesterday, but today something triggered me, whatever it might have been, and it might have pushed me too far into the wall in terms of how I'm processing that emotion, that feeling. I think if I have what I needed to have, within around, I'm going to do something. A person is going to do something. And I say this not to make people sad or discouraged, but I want people to understand that, um, because I know people sometimes feel like, oh, I could have done something more or I could have done something differently, right? Even if you did do those different things, at the end of the day, that choice is really that person's choice. And the only thing that we can do is just to help them um, be with it as they go on their own journey, like be their support, as they go through that journey. You know what I mean? So as you, and I
I'm
know
with
that,
you.
yeah. And so, and I say this, from the bottom of my heart, because as someone who deals with it, I know that, and I don't anticipate and I don't plan and I don't want to, but when you blink out, what I'm saying to you right now, it's not present at that moment. It's just not there. And so, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation because I wanted people to understand that this is very serious. Because I don't know if anybody has ever talked about BPD in that space. Like, there's nothing there. But the only thing that exists there at that moment is the relief of not wanting to have that anymore. So what SI does is brings us a temporary relief to what we are experiencing on the inside. You understand what I'm saying? Right.
Um,
So SI doesn't necessarily bring despair to us. It brings relief to the idea that in the split of a second, I don't have to feel that anymore. But because there's nothing else going on, there's nothing that we can pull from, right? There's nothing that we can hold on to that could also give us the relief that we need. And that's why, that's why it's important to talk about, and I'm sure that you do with your organization, ways that people that have BPD themselves, what can they do to minimize certain the traits? Because one of the things about BPD, and I want everybody to know this, is that it's something that is you can actually be cured from it. When I say cured, I'm talking about some of the traits that would have lasted a week or months, it could last 10, 15 minutes, right? Because you have the awareness of what's going on. You can get a hold on, get a hold onto it, right? But I just
yeah.
wanted to say that, not to take a whole lot away from that, that as a support group, as a support, as peer support that you give, and I think it's always fair to be 100% honest and authentic about this, especially when you're talking to family members, right? Um, that you can support them. Like what we really need is just support. It's just to know
Yeah.
that we can go somewhere and we don't have to explain a whole lot. But it helps if you know what's happening, right? It helps the support is because really what's happening with us is just we're processing these really big, 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 big emotions that sometimes are too, it's like the way that we see it is massive. You know what I mean? It might be this little if you
Oh,
were to look from the outside in, but for us, it's this monumental, that is like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm not, I used to always say, one of my trauma responses, right? Whenever I had an episode of something, my first trauma response was, I don't think I'm going to make it because it was just so big. Like think about hanging in a 20-story building and try to hold on for dear life, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't think I'm going to make it. It feels like that sometimes, you know? So
yeah.
it's yeah. So anyway, but I just I think I said a whole lot. Um,
No, no, no. I'm taking it in.
you
You know what I
take
mean?
it
And
in.
it's the only way I can get a better understanding of things, you know? You know what I mean? So you have to, yeah, I'm gonna, so talk. It's it. That's what we're here for, all right?
Yeah, and that's basically what one of the things I say. Emotional regulation. Like one of the things that I think are helpful for borderline personality disorder is because there's a lot going on over here in our noggin, right? And we can do as much as we can. One of the things that I say that what makes borderline personality disorder so complex is that, like if I was to give an example, let me just grab some of these cards. So these are the different traits, right? Of the, let's say these are the different traits of borderline personality disorder. So if this trait, it's kind of like a game. If this trait is pulled, like if this one is active, all of them become active. It's a domino effect. So even though, so let's say for example, this is splitting. And for those of you who didn't listen to the podcast from the other day, splitting is literally splitting. Like one moment we are loving on you, and that comes from idolization a lot of the times, right? We idolize people because idolizing is it calms our nervous system because there's a creation of safety, right? So this person says something to me that made me feel really good. Oh my gosh, he's the best person in the world, right? But then 5 minutes later, there's something that you do that gives the perception of abandonment or the perception that we have done something wrong, then all of a sudden you become the worst person in the world within less than like 60 seconds. And we call that splitting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And so, and it's all it is, it's a nervous system thing, like we're feeling good and now you're taking that away from me. you know so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so what happens is when that happens, all the other traits also get impacted because now the unstable relationship begins to evolve, right? Because now you're like, man, what's going on with Raphaella? Like 5 minutes ago she was fine, and all of a sudden, like, what happened? So it's on the re on the receiving end, and I want to say this, did you ever experience that with your friend? Like the splitting, like one moment she was fine with you, another moment she's like, and you're like, what just happened? Like, what's going on?
But I've missed it. We've heard other people, but weird as crazy as hard to believe. I didn't witness it. I didn't experience it with myself. You know what I mean? Like loving, like what say loving, like if anyone to me, and then you know what I mean, very cutthroat the next. Like I saw it with like I mean, either over the phone or with else, like I witnessed it, and then probably thinking about. Well, did she ever do me? Not to say that did she do me? No, I could not to say that I could pinpoint a year that happened to me, but the way you describing it, I definitely remember it happening with other people that have witnessed it. You know what I mean? And then I kind of took it as like okay, um, like what's what's happened? You know? So yeah, but no, to say it happened with me. I couldn't say yeah, I couldn't yeah, yeah. Not to say yeah. At this moment in time, no, I can't say there's been a point that she was yeah, with me, you know, top of the moon and then cutthroat with me in the neck, I know she was I'm really trying to think now. Mm, no, we've been able to witness it from a point of yeah, her between health you know what I mean? I never think noticed it on me. Does that make sense?
Got it. Got it. Was there anybody else that you know that either share with you or perhaps because do you understand the traits that you said that you're connected with? Like is there anybody else that you met after her that you're connected with that has showcased that they have told you or they showcase the
Um,
traits of borderline personality disorder?
yeah. Yeah. Nice say that. There was a I can't say scenario, it's not a scenario. It was a situation where it was a case of they're all in they were all in it for something, and then within the next it was just went, you know, like it just yeah, just like that, you know what I mean? Both this is via this were in vocal is done by messaging, but like it was very like quick, like it was a case of like what sparked or prompted that reaction, you know what I mean? And it was, yeah, and this is where I kind of stand if people feel left a bit confused in that situation without having the awareness or understanding of what's going on, you know, and we take it quite negatively, you know what I mean? Negatively. Uh, remember a situation with that with someone else. But I think how that end up resolved, how that end up being she yeah, but she mentioned before and that she was of experience. But the way she react, the way this all happened, it wasn't apparent. Apparently, yeah, yeah. What happened was like it didn't fit in. Not say fit in. Fit wrong word to use. It didn't. I couldn't understand like what happened. You know what I mean? But then where you're explaining it now, that could have been that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, because it's quite. Yeah, it can be received very negatively if it's not if you're not if it's not if you've not been yeah if you don't know of someone's situation, right? You know, I think it could be yeah. So I can understand in a relationship setting, or even relationship in any way, you know, like a friendship relationship, you know. Yeah, it can be very negative without any understanding or any conversation had to say that, look, this is my situation, or this is me. You know what I mean? Like, don't take it, no, don't take it to heart. Thing. It's just, yeah,
If you,
uh,
because and here's what now that you understand the traits, you understand the disorder. I know for me, I've known people that I said to myself, that person is showcasing symptoms of borderline personality disorder. I'm able to tell rather quickly. And that's because I know, like I live and I'm paying attention to the behaviors, right? If you suspect, especially now with education, the information that you're giving to to people, to parents, to people that might suspect, um, what is a way, like how do you approach that conversation if you suspect that someone might have borderline personality disorder?
um, see, what's the spec on that? This is I know what you mean when you say suspected or have um borderline personality disorder, but it's to I don't want to assume that someone that I come across will have it has this or that, you know what I mean? Because some things can coexist with another, you know what I mean? So it's for me to be like, yeah, you have that or you have this, but if you're saying to suspect, it would generally just be a case of um how to even open up conversation. It depends on the the relationship with one another. So if it was a friend, I would just generally have to just check in with them. You know what I mean? Just check in, just like, are you right? And are you right? Not a, you're right. okay, yeah, cool. So you're right. It's a double. Like you're right. Are you sure you're all right? You know what I mean? So there's a double checking, and usually if I know what I mean if I say that. You know what I mean? I think anyone would know. I mean, if someone said that twice. You know what I mean? But to but how that discussion to someone that has spec, I would just say, like again, you just have, talk, you know what I mean? But if you feel like things are not getting cool, if things are not like getting better, you know what I mean? GP, is the right way to go through, you know what I mean? But we myself would just be, as supportive as I can. But I mean, but expect someone that has BPD is quite. I don't any mental health that anyone has, it's easy to approach someone. You know what I mean? Because of course you come with coming from a place of care, but that person that you're saying to probably don't even want to have that sort of conversation. You know what I mean? And and um and that's again that stigma, and that's one thing we're trying to reduce. We're trying to reduce the stigma, just make it make sure open culture is the norm about that. You know what I mean? And um, if this yeah, it's not easy to even open a conversation about mental health with people to spend how BBD and how to approach them. Be should be supportive. If it's a friend, if it's someone I don't know, someone I come to a store to inquire, and if they have X, Y, and Z symptoms or traits, then I would say, yeah, go to GP, go and have a check done, and at least then you can kind of um clarify what might have been going on, whether okay, yeah, so this happened for about 3 months, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't say to someone, yeah, who I suspect it could be like, I think you got BBD, that's like saying to someone, well, not to say it's like saying to someone, but it's like someone's trying to go to the gym. You look, what I mean? It's like you're putting help in the situation at all, you know what I mean? So it's you better, so it's better just to kind of um just let them know, yeah, just don't make it awkward, you know what I mean? Just approach it with care, you know what I mean? If you suspect anyone of anything, you know what I mean?
Approach it with care. Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
what we
yeah,
don't want to do is diagnose folks, right?
yeah,
But if especially like, and like I said, in my experience, because I've had a few folks um, that I suspected, simply because I just saw, I felt like I was looking in the mirror. I said, "Oh my gosh," Um, and I never really said, "Okay, here's what I think is going on with you." But what I would do is, I always like to use the word consider, right? Have you considered talking about this or talking about that with a mental health professional? Um,
yeah,
because I knew if I say to them, have you considered talking about and give the specifics, hopefully with the right mental health professional, they'll be able to say, this is what might be going on with you, and we'll keep a watch, right? Because I always say diagnosis is not an overnight thing. Sometimes it takes a while like I've been doing therapy since I was in my 20s. I was 27 years old when I started therapy because somebody suspected I was depressed. I am 52 years old and I didn't get the diagnosis until I was 49. So that was only a few years ago. So years and years of doing therapy, because I did therapy all kind of on and off for all those years. I did therapy once for 2 years straight. And yet, that particular therapist was not able to diagnose this is what's going on with me, right? And that's because, in my case, like I said, it's quiet. So I'm not going to tell you a lot of things. I'm only going to discuss perhaps the issue that I'm having, with this particular person or this particular situation. I'm not going to talk about that. I had one of the things that I never shared with any of my therapists many years ago was that I had suicide ideation. And I was having suicide ideation since I was 14 years old. But I never disclosed that with fear because when it comes to that back then, like if you talk about suicide, now it's a little bit different when you talk about, because now there's suicide ideation and there is attempted, suicide. But many years ago, even if you talked about suicide ideation, they would have to disclose that for your own safety. And I didn't want that to be disclosed whatsoever. And so a lot of times, a lot of therapists won't know how to diagnose, not that they don't know how to diagnose, but because they don't have the full, complete, and entire picture, they, as a lot of times they will misdiagnose something. They will call it one thing, but it's really actually something else. And that's why I say it's important for people to keep journals and keep,
Yeah.
when they're going through things, just to keep a record of what's, okay, this happened before. This is not the first time I feel this way. This is not the first time I thought about that. Um, in my case, when I had the awareness of it, like when I finally said, okay, that something's off, I was going through, and this is a lot of things that people, this is one of the traits that they call it paranoia, right? But it's really a temporary psychosis because at that very moment, we believe whatever it is that we're paranoid about to be actually true. And that is considered a temporary psychosis. Like, people that have who are schizophrenia have schizophrenia when they have psychosis where they're believing they're this person or that person they're talking. So with BPD, a lot what's not talked about a lot is when we go into that paranoia trait, we have what's called a temporary psychosis. Because for that 5 minutes, we believe that thing to be actually true. Eventually, if we're doing what I call DBT, which is dialect behavior therapy. If anybody who's doing that, that helps you come brings us back to reality and like, is that really happening? Like, we go through this process, we use these tools and you're like, oh no, that is not true, right? That is not happening. But for a few seconds, that's what happens in our brain, right? And that's how I came to, because I was going to that, I went through a moment of that. And I had to literally sit down and say, whoa, girl, what's going on? What's happening? And that's when I said, okay, because it wasn't the first time. I had it for years, right? And so, but then it will go away, And so it's really important, and it kind of brings me to this question, how important it is. How would you say how important it is to have peer support aside from clinical support? Yes, we do need the clinical, but how important is peer support?
I'll say it's very important. Because you can live the experience, you share experiences as well, and that's what makes you know that you're not alone. I mean, it's not just you that's that's going that's going through what you're going through. Um, it's I think even just as people I don't know if we're talking about BBD, but I think even just people a lot, in general, we feel like we're dealing with things. We're the only person that's dealt with this thing once in our life. You know what I mean? Like, boy, everyone, you know what I mean? But yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you have to just know that there is someone there that is going through the same thing you're going through, and to have that sort of conversation with one another will just kind of let you kind of reassure yourself that you're the only one, and then you know that they may have a tool that will help you um go through what you're going through, you know, and help manage what you're going through as well. 'Cause, yeah, you know, yeah. So yeah, that's where like peer to peer support is what we encourage, because it's yes, it's I guess that's one way I guess it's one other way to have a better understanding of yourself roots as well. Um, yeah, it, need more than anything to have peer support. Um, just so you can just reassure yourself that you're not the only one going through or feeling how you're feeling, and that there are ways to go through. There is ways to manage how you're feeling or how things are.
Mm. How often do you guys meet?
So we are every last Sunday. So it would have been last. It would have been last. Sorry, been yesterday. Being Monday today. Every last Sunday of each month we meet. Um, what we are trying to fund we're trying to get funding for a physical place. So we can face to face. Um, so then that will fortnightly. So then we have that fortnightly, and we have that once a month. You know, what I mean, that's three things that month. So we wouldn't scrap the online. Online will still be there. You know what I mean, we want to accommodate for everyone. When we want to accommodate for everyone. So, but the aim is to have an input base, get people out. You know what I mean, and have you know that real connection with another. And again, it's with isolation. You know what I mean? Having that in-person place. You know what I mean? More than anything. But at the moment, it's just last Sunday of each month at 11:30 to 12:30.
Got it. I had a quick question that I meant to ask earlier and it just popped back into my head. What are the rates of people that come to the events or maybe to join the meetings when it comes to women versus men? The percentage of like, 'cause to be honest, I never met any men that have borderline personality disorder. I'm yet to meet someone that actually showcases the traits of borderline personality disorder or is open about BPD. But I'm always curious because I don't hear a lot of it. You see a lot of women uh that every time I look at it, it's always women that are showing up, but not men. What is the percentage of men and women that you see that attend these events or come to seek information?
So the ones the ratio of men and girls that come to the well, men and women that come to the support group is all women. I honest with you. But there is men that approach us in these events or when we do outreach, and they are of lived experience. Well, um, so but then again, what I've found out now is that men men are just gonna be men at the end of the day, you know what I mean? They're not gonna talk. If I'm brutally honest, you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna talk, you know. And you know what I mean? And it's the same thing again, stigma, you know. That's what you know what I mean? Like how you gonna break that stigma for talk? And I feel like yeah, when it comes to talking about your feelings and such, expressing your feelings and such, it's a bit more easier not saying men don't do it between men, but then again, that's different to each social, right? But then I feel like women it's easier to conversate about feed compared to men, and I think I think you have to be doesn't have to be, but it feels like you have to be in a certain space for that conversation to be had, and even that space, they that to be had. There's already they'll be perceived as as something not something is not all there, not right. You know what I mean? And not, you know what I mean? Going to the point that that men talk is like who knows what conversation has been had between any social group, any for them to even get any support or any help. You know what I mean? So again, if things are being shamed on, then it's a bit like, well, that's sick. You know what I mean? On if whether you know to better help self, or you know things are being like put on you to cop, be like, ah, you be alright. You know what I mean? Each each social group is gonna have a different outlook on a topic, and I guess you show some people have more friend group, and you can show yourself to a self percentage of yourself to a friend group. You might show 50% of the one friend group. You might show yourself 10% to one friend. When to me in my head is application would be friends. But then obviously then if you're maybe 35% with someone, then you know what I mean you would yeah, the events themselves we share with each person, which is totally normal in my eye. I mean, I think normal. That's just how you navigate, right? Um, but to um, but to say that if yeah, to go back to the point is that it's women that come to the support group, but again, I find that men just don't talk, and men I know that have that have lived experiences. But they, again, I guess whether conversations have been had for them not to, and they know the group open to them. You know what I mean? That's what's there. It's your second abode. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If you're ready, you know what I mean? If you want to come, it's back. You know what I mean? But again, that's down to them. Whether they feel like they don't need to, is that's that whole more question it. You know what I mean? Um, but it is a case of like again a case of men just don't talk that as to what to why they're um you might come across not being very good about it or I'm sure you come across it on social media platforms, you know what I mean? Like maybe social media platform like men they get some men that will be worried about it. But then to then obviously be first hand with someone, um it is yeah, just a case men just not being vocal. If I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's gonna be, and I think sometimes depending on what type of BPD they have, it can easily be misdiagnosed as something else. I talk about because a lot of times, depending on the type of like there's they call the risky BPD, the one that showcase a lot of risky behaviors. A lot of times they're misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder because bipolar tend to, when they're in the manic state, they tend to have the similar traits as the risky BPD. So I think a lot of times it can be misdiagnosed. That's why it's important to, write down what's going on, behaviors that you find to be. But I think when it comes to men, I can't know for sure, but I have a feeling that a lot of times they probably have borderline personality disorder, but it's been misdiagnosed as something else,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
different species. That we show up is a little bit different, in the world. If the person you lost, your friend, could see this organization today, what do you think she would say?
Gosh, yeah, not really too sure. It's like, what you doing at? Me, it's like,
What you knew about
I
her,
don't,
what kind of person she was, like what do you think she would say to know that this is what you're up to, this is what you're doing in honor of her?
um, I'd like to think she's happy. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't think she'd be happy that, you know, um, yeah, but probably be calling me a man, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, like, yeah, no, but yeah, I'd think that she was, she'd have there's something something there that she could go to herself, you know? Um, yeah, yeah, I'm not too, yeah, I probably, I'll probably sum it up, to be fair, yeah.
Okay. What does it mean in your view to love someone with BPD? And this is and your audience right now are parents, friends, husbands, wives. If you were to tell them, if they were all here and they're having someone that they have that has BPD, what would you say in your view what it means to love someone with BPD?
I love them as my own, you know, if they're there, if love is love, right? You know, like to love someone with BD, if not, it's not, it's not difficult, you know, if it's just understand one another, you know what I mean? Um, yeah,
Okay,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
thank you.
very best way to put
No,
it.
well, and the reason why I ask sometimes is because a lot of people hate people with BPD. We get a lot of hate. So that is why I asked, what does it mean to love someone with BPD? Because we get a lot of hate. That's why I don't even say a whole lot out in the world about it because, and I've shared a lot of things on social media, and I've had people come at me and say, I will never in my life forgive a person with BPD. Like, and so again, because they don't have the awareness, and that's what they label, it's all the same, you know what I mean? So we don't get love out here. We get a lot of hate. And that's why I
Right.
asked, in your view, what was like to love someone with BPD? So, but the way that I see that you're loving those with BPD is your organization, what you're doing, and the awareness that you're bringing to this, to remove the stigma. And I'm very grateful that you're doing that. So tell everybody where to find you, where to find information about organization, where they can follow you.
So on Instagram, it's it's help me underscore find me. Then on Facebook, it's help me find me TIC. That's a Facebook page. Then help me find me is the group page. I do need to change it, but yeah, that's where you can find me. Don't know how many other social media do I? No, try and get TikTok out, but I don't know. And, um, even email address. Uh, yeah, info at me.co.uk. But obviously it's been an honor, even speaking with you, and even been connected to you in the place over the ground, Raphaella. So it's been an honor that it's come to now that, you know, I mean, well, no, but, you know, we've talked so much and, you know, we're here have a podcast talk, you know, what I mean? So so I'm grateful that that you reached out to even want to do this with me. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I am very grateful. Trust me, to know that there's an organization out there that is started with a peer. It to me, if it's a very loving thing to do. Also, just let everybody know about your meetings really quick on each month.
Each month it's 11:30 till 12:30. There are teams on every last day of each month. Um, Again, if you get hold of me through Instagram or on email, we can always forward you the link. We are looking to change the time, to be fair, so then we can get people that were international, so um to accommodate for there. So we're going to push the time a little bit further on, about 1:30 till 2:30, so push a bit more time for other people as well. But at the moment it's still 11:30 till 12:30 till further notice. That's online on Teams. But yeah, so yeah,
So just to
well,
follow
anyone more than
you,
welcome.
so they can follow you and they can get more information they can follow the Instagram page and you share more information there as well, right? You do post that.
Yeah,
Okay, very good.
no
Awesome.
problem.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. I this was
Yeah,
lovely, and thank you for everything that you do. And I'm sure, and from my heart, I think your friend is probably very happy in what you're doing. So,
thank you. I appreciate your time more than anything.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Rafa Said It Here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can get notification of my latest episode. Sending you love.